Jack Ma hasn't been involved in day-to-day operations for some time, but he still certainly looms large at the company. We went to China a few years ago, and we interviewed him on Singles Day. So, Kevin, what do you make of him exiting the company now and what it really means for Alibaba?
Well, first of all, I don't think he's exiting the company. He's definitely exiting one particular role. He's doing it in a methodical way that's been talked about and broadcast. So it's new information, but it's not really news. I mean, he stepped down from the CEO role several years ago, and now he's making it more formal. The timeline for his handing over the chairmanship, but he handed over the CEO role many years ago, and I think it's more about changing his image to the philanthropist role that he's planning on taking on in the future, as well as being a teacher.
Selina, is there anything surprising about the way the plan has been laid out here?
You know, this has been a long time coming. He's been talking about this for many years. He's always saying he wants to pass the baton to the younger generation. He wants to die on the beach, not in his office. And it's not a surprise that Daniel Zhang is the one who's going to be stepping up. He's much more low profile, low mannered, much quieter than Jack Ma, but he has been the CEO for nearly 3 years. He's executed extremely well. He's credited with really bringing Tmall to the forefront of the company, for spearheading Singles Day, for executing on this new retail strategy. So it doesn't really come as a surprise. I think the most surprising part is probably the timing of the announcement, even though investors and analysts have known for quite some time it was looming large.
Is it any surprise that it's Daniel Zhang taking that role and not Joe Tsai, the vice chair?
He is the executor, after all. He's not as high profile, but he was hired in 2007. He came on as a CFO at Taobao. He's really credited with making it a very established organization. Jack Ma has said that him leaving means that this company is no longer reliant on specific individuals or cults of personality, but it can rely on really the organizational structure. Jack Ma probably won't ever leave his role as being the public face of the company, but behind the scenes there have been many players that have been propping the company up for quite some time.
Take a listen to this interview. We actually sat down with Jack Ma just a few days before he made this announcement in an exclusive interview on Bloomberg Television. Take a listen to what he had to say about the company's future.
I don't think any problem with Alibaba will happen. I mean, our people, I fully confidence in my team and fully confidence in our structure, like the partner structure, which a lot of investors don't like. Hong Kong don't like, New York don't like. Oh, it's so perfect. It's the system which I think this is the contribution that I and my team build to this world. And people in the future will love it. Can make the company last long.
Hopefully we'll continue to get interviews with him because the fire is always fun to watch. But Kevin, what is your view on the future of the company without him as involved?
Well, I think that was beautiful, by the way. He's already been gone. I mean, the fact is he's made it very clear that what's important to him is culture, handing the baton, empowering other people, and as you sort of alluded to, I think Daniel's considered more like, I saw a story earlier that called him Clark Kent versus Jack Ma being Superman. So I think the company's in great hands. And more importantly, the fundamental story here. You've got billions of consumers in China, in India, in Africa, all over the world that are getting their first computer, their first internet access, 5G coming soon, and a big deal.
Soon-ish.
Soon-ish. Well, yeah, yes, I don't have a projection exactly when someone in the U.S. will have access to this, but it sounds like it's soon enough to matter. But the point is, the fundamental story behind Alibaba, I mean, if you look at the revenue growth they had last quarter, 61%, this is a big story of all of the consumers in China and the rest of the world moving on up, wanting stuff, getting a computer, getting the internet, and doing it all on the phone. And so he set a great culture for the company. They've got a great direction, and I think they'll continue fundamentally to do quite well. The stock market will do what it's going to do.
What do you think are the biggest challenges that lie ahead for Alibaba, especially in the middle of a U.S.-China trade war?
Well, I think the stock's risk and problems have been related to the trade war. I think that if you look at the different parts of the emerging market and China economy and the stock market, the companies that are going to struggle with the trade war are going to be steel and chicken feed and tires and things like that. Of all the sectors that are going to be hurt by trade wars, this emerging market internet sector will be hurt the least, but it will certainly affect the stocks.
Selina, talk to us a little bit about what Jack Ma is planning to do. He's talked about philanthropy, he's talked about education.
Absolutely. He's talked about looking at Bill Gates as a potential model. He definitely has spoken a lot about education because he used to be an English teacher and that was sort of his first love. But he also has greater ambitions to use technology to transform the environment, to make healthcare more efficient. So he has broad and expansive philanthropic ambitions. But I think he'll also continue to play the strategic role for Alibaba in terms of the high level at the company. He's going to continue to be on the board of directors as well as part of this influential Alibaba partnership. And Daniel Zhang is going to have pretty unparalleled power as the CEO and the executive chairman, a position that hasn't been consolidated since 2013. And they do have a number of challenges to go up against in terms of overseas expansion, the transformation of their business lines to rely more on new units like entertainment and cloud computing. So I think Jack Ma will dedicate a significant time to philanthropy, but I think he will always be a presence at Alibaba.
How do you see, Kevin, Alibaba continuing to compete with their own homegrown opponents, whether it's Tencent or Baidu? This, as the Chinese government is cracking down and shaping new regulation on gaming, and you never know where the Chinese government is going to come and try to impact your business next.
Sure. Well, I think the gaming situation has impacted Tencent more from a fundamental standpoint, but. You know, the government's always going to be part of the China story. You know, they're coming from a different place than we came from in terms of their management of their country. So I think that those are risks involved. In terms of competition, JD.com, which has been in the news for other corporate governance reasons, or related corporate governance related reasons this week, you know, they're a player and a meaningful player, but. Alibaba continues to have the dominant market share. You have Pinduoduo, which is now publicly traded, which is more of an app-based version of e-commerce that's taken the third market share. So, but the other thing is, as you mentioned, they're in a lot of businesses. I mean, Alipay in and of itself is enormous business. And so they're in payments, they're in movies, they're in all sorts of things. The law of large numbers dictates that it's going to slow, but it's still going to grow at a really fast rate for a long time in lots of different directions.